Hello guys, welcome back to this course on making your own age and gender detector using machine learning. Till now, we have seen what will our basic output will look like, what will our GUI Python file will look like. We've also installed Python in your system, added it to path, and have installed an IDE and the required packages for the project. So now we are going to start with a bit of coding to get you all familiar with the basics of Python. So first you need to open Visual Studio Code. After you open, this is the home tab of it. So now just press Ctrl Shift and T. There comes the search bar and type here Jupyter and select the option of create new blank Jupyter notebook. So it has started now. Remember to select the interpreter as the latest Python version you have downloaded. Now we could also have used the normal.py file for practicing Python, but I prefer this because unlike in the normal.py file where if you make a change you have to run and build it again, in Jupyter notebooks you can decide to only compile a part of the program, so it saves a bit of time, and that's why it is also used in data science and machine learning. So to get you all familiar with basics of Python, let's first start it by trying to print hello world. So this is a very simple task. Just you need to type print and hello world in quotes and run it using this button. Here you can see hello world written. Okay, so let's now try to print sum of two numbers. Let's just try to print the sum of 5 and 6. So we will do it using print 5 plus 6 and run the cell, and we get 11 here. So this print statement can also handle basic addition. Let's see if it can handle multiplication also. So 5 multiplied by 6, yeah, so you can see it can. So let's get you all familiar with how to write comments in Python, because comments are a very useful thing in coding. It helps the user to specify what this part of code does, and also helps in debugging. So let's just write this is a comment and try to run this cell. So as you can see, there is no output because comments are ignored by the compiler. Next thing we can try is then to make a list in Python. Lists are just collection of things. So first we will try to make a list of numbers. So just do L and in square brackets I'll type 1, 2, 3 and 4 and try to print L. Let's see what the output is. So it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now let's try to make a list of strings or words. So we'll say Windows, Linux, and Mac, and try to print S, where we get the output as Windows, Linux and Mac. Let's try to now see if it can handle multiple types of variables. So we make x equals to 1 high, and now let's try a floating point variable like 4.03, and then run x. So yeah, it basically can handle anything. Now let's try to make some tuples. Okay, so now let's make a tuple of strings. So t equals to hi, hello, how are you? And let's try to run this. So yeah, it displays it correctly. Now let's see if the tuples can have variables of more than one type. Hi, and let's try 4.0 and run it. So as you can see, the tuples can also have variables of more than one type. Now let's learn to do some basic if-else statements in Python, which you will be familiar with if you have done coding previously. So let's just initialize a variable a to 4 and write if a modulus 2 equals to 0, return 1, else return 0. And now let's run this cell. So here I'm encountering an error. Okay, let's try to replace return with print. And I run this cell and I get the output 1 as expected, because a is 4, which is even. So that covers your basic if-else statements. And now let's try some while loops in Python. Okay, so I initialize a variable I equals to 1, and now while I less than 5, print I equals to I plus 1, and let's run this cell. So you can see this is, so now I guess guys you are also familiar with while loops in Python. Let's try for loops. For loops I am going to try something new which is only specific in Python, which was not available in the previous languages like C and C++, in which we don't have to use index, we can directly use values. For example, I'll make a list called vegetables, and one of them will be potato, another is cabbage, the third one is, let's say it's onion. Now we use a for loop which is for x in vegetables, we print x, and let's run this. So the expected output here is potato, cabbage, onion, which we get. Now let's get you guys familiar to writing functions in Python. You can write functions in Python using this def keyword. So I'm going to use def my function and going to give it some arguments, let's say a, and make this if a modulus 2 equals to 0, return 1, else return 0. And now we run my function with value 5. So though the expected output was 0 and the output obtained is also 0, since 5 is odd, so we were expecting value 0. So it's working fine. So I guess now guys you're also familiar with making functions in Python. One more thing Python has is called Lambda, which is also an example of a function. But it is a one-liner function which is used whenever you want to compute something which can be computed in a single line and you have to make function for it. So instead of making a function, you can do a lambda of it. So let's try it here. X equals to lambda a plus 1 print x 5, and let's see what the output is. So as expected, we are getting the value 6 because this function was made to increment the value of the variable a by 1, and in this case the variable a was 5. So I guess guys you are now familiar with basic functioning of Python. How do we write basic codes here? We have covered in this lecture how to print hello world, print products of a number, write comment using list of numbers, list of characters, and list with multiple types of variables. We have also covered tuples with tuples of strings, tuples of various types of variables. And for flow of control, we have also covered the if else loop, the while loop, and the for loop. And we have learned to make a basic function and also the lambda function, which is used in one-liner functions. So guys, that's all for today. Have a nice day.